Hey guys, what's up? It's munclesonkey. Welcome to another episode of Condemned to PVM. So before we really get into this episode, in the background for a little while you'll just be seeing clips of me getting drops at Saradomin because I did decide to do Saradomin for this episode. Why I decided to do that, I'm not really sure, because Saradomin is, at least in my opinion, the worst money boss out of God Wars Dungeon, but I am also deciding to go for the pets, because I did ask you guys in the last episode of Condemned to PVM, which wasn't really a full episode or anything, just a voting episode, if you would like me to, instead of going for all drops, go for all pets instead, which is almost the exact same thing because I should get almost all the drops in getting all the pets. I probably won't get all of the sigils from Corp. I might not get all the next drops, but other than those two bosses, I should get every single drop from every single boss while getting all the pets. So it should work both ways. It won't be that much different, and the pets won by an overwhelming margin. It was 82% of the votes that won. I was just going to do majority one, and that was definitely the majority. So I did decide to go for Saradomin because this is my favorite God Wars dungeon boss, and I'm not really sure why. At least to me, this has been the best XP, and one thing is, I am much more of a slayer than I am a PVMer. I do enjoy PVMing, I do enjoy bossing from time to time, but I think the reason why I enjoy bosses such as God Wars Dungeon a little bit more than bosses that are more involved, such as Araxor, not really a huge fan of bosses like Araxor or Nex, where it's really imperative that you pay full attention and that you know what you're doing. I think the reason why I like God Wars Dungeon more, not just because of the laziness factor where it's easier to do the boss, but I really love the fact that it is very good experience. And when I was doing the Saradomin boss, I was getting, per instance, which is 1 hour of fast spawning, about 680k total XP per hour. And also effigies are very common there. I got a lot of effigies at Saradomin, 9 total in all of the kills that I've done so far at this boss. So overall, it's just ridiculous XP, because on top of all the effigies I'm getting, that's a lot of combat experience, around 500 plus 500k experience per hour in attack, and that really helps towards getting 120 attack one day. Unfortunately with Saradomin, because of Petscape and also because of bonus experience weekend coming up soon, which might have a small factor into it, I really think that items are crashing more because of Petscape though, and the Saradomin drops have just dropped so much, and they're really not worth very much. Every single Saradomin drop other than the hilt is now worth less than 2 mil, which is kind of shocking. It's still okay when you get them because you can average like a drop an hour, because you can get around 60 kills per hour, and the drop rate is around 1 in 60. So you're still more than breaking even. You're still making a little bit of money because the normal drops, the non-Saradomin specific drops, pay for your supplies, and then anything you get on top of that, any Saradomin swords, any Saradomin amulets, any Armadillo crossbows, that is where your profit comes in. And I did get a whole ton of drops, as you can see here, because I did camp quite a bit of Saradomin. I did 14 hours of Saradomin in total in about the last week or so, and you'll see how many kills that netted me once we get into viewing the statistics. But I'm just really enjoying God Wars Dungeon ever since these fast spawn instances came out, because you get so many kills per hour, and you also get the drops. The drops are not very rare. You average at least a drop an hour. Depends on your luck. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Every once in a while you'll have those trips with no drops, and sometimes you'll have those trips with 5 drops. That's just kind of how it works out as all these effigies just continue to roll in. But since the boss is like that, and since it spawns so fast, and since the kills are so quick, it's perfect for people with short attention spans like me. And Serenic kill scale during the kill count, and ironically I believe that drop was worth more than any drop that I got at Saradomin for that particular trip. I think that was a trip where I got 2 swords or something like that, and they're worth less than Serenic scales, if you can believe that. But as I said, 9 total effigies, which all of that went into agility, which I'm getting pretty close to 30 mil agility now, mostly thanks to just God Wars Dungeon and Barbary Butches, which is a little bit insane. And I also have now gotten every single unique Saradomin drop. I've gotten all the amulets and lots of swords and crossbows, as well as at least 1 hilt. And I did have 2 hilts already from Saradomin. Surprisingly, I got 2 hilts and about 150 kills, and that was shown during the first episode of Condemned to PVM. The very first episode, we had beginner's luck when we were first starting off, and I just got insanely lucky. Although I'm not going to talk about how long it took me to actually get my first hilt at Saradomin, but it is what it is, and the Armadillo crossbows just continue to roll. They're the most common drop that I winded up getting. But did I get another hilt? And yes, I did. And all the Saradomin I got 1 additional Saradomin hilt, and they're currently 10 mil. But hopefully they'll go up again after bonus XP weekend. They just had a major crash recently, and if they go up, that's going to make me happy. I'm definitely going to hold on to my hilts. I'm not going to sell them quite yet. So just to confirm that, did I really get 3 Saradomin hilts total? Because it has been a really long time since the first Condemned PVM episode, and I imagine a lot of you haven't even seen it because that was uploaded months ago. But yes, when God Wars Dungeon fast spawn instances first came out, I went over there to test them, see what they were like, and just a few kills into my first ever trip in the fast spawn instances, I got a hilt. And then a while later, soon after the death tasks came out, I got an additional hilt while doing my luckiest death task ever, getting a crossbow hilt and a sword, and the sword was still worth like 1 mil at the time, just during that task alone. Okay, so I think the progression at Saradomin has been pretty good. The last time we visited Saradomin in episode 1, I had done 163 total Saradomin kills and had gotten a total of 4 drops, with of course the 2 hilts, an armadillo crossbow, and the Saradomin sword, and you guys saw all 3 of those. 3 of them happening during one death task when I think I got 26 total Saradomin kills, and now going into the modern day, we're up to 850 total Saradomin kills, getting pretty close to 1,000, which is nice because that's going to unlock another threshold. How the boss pets work is, at least for the God Wars Dungeon bosses, every 500 kills you do at the boss becomes much more common with its drop rate, and it just continues becoming more and more common every 500 kills until you reach a point where it can stop becoming more common. Now, I don't exactly know what that point is with the God Wars Dungeon bosses, but hopefully we will be able to get the Saradomin pet fairly soon. And of course I have gotten all of the drops from Saradomin now, with a total of 20 drops in only 850 kills, which makes my drop rate 1 in 42.5, which is a pretty good drop rate considering the actual drop rate while wearing a Ring of Wealth, and I always wear a Ring of Wealth at God Wars Dungeon, is supposed to be around 1 in 63 or so, according to the Runescape wiki. So I think I'm getting a little bit lucky, but you got to remember this is Saradomin, and other than the hilts, the other drops aren't worth a whole lot. But let's go ahead and price check them and see what they are worth. First of all, we will price check all of the regular drops from Saradomin. I had to do this in 2 inventories because of the new rare drop table update. I have a whole bunch of weird stuff in my inventory, stuff like rune arrowheads and raw lobsters and gold ore, and I did get all of this from Saradomin, so I'm going to go ahead and price check it, and it comes out to 16.3 mil, and we can go ahead and cancel that all out and write it off as a 0 because I spend a little bit over 1 mil per hour at Saradomin, including the fast spawn instances and Drygore charges and vampirism ore and all that stuff. So I spent roughly around 16 mil in supplies, so we can just mark that off as a 0 and have all of our profit come from the Saradomin drops themselves. Now, when it comes to the profit, that is a good amount of Saradomin items. That looks quite nice. I did buy back the Saradomin hilts. Of course, if you didn't remember during episode 1, I did sell the Saradomin hilts off, and I ended up making the right decision because they're worth a lot less now. But I wanted to have items to price check just because it looks way cooler than a cash pile to have all of these items. So we're going to price check them, and it comes out to 57.5 mil. Actually 50 mil, because the Saradomin hilts are currently about 10.4 mil in the GE, not 14 mil. So roughly 50 mil profit in 14 hours of Saradomin. Now you might say, wow, you got really lucky with the 3 hilts, but you got to think about it in this context. I made this money in 14 hours, which equals out to roughly about 3.5 mil profit per hour, and that's getting really lucky at Saradomin. So what this goes to say is if you get really, really lucky at Saradomin, you can make kind of average money for PVM. And Saradomin is not worth doing. I'm obviously only doing this for pets, but I would not recommend any of you guys go to Saradomin because unless the drops go up, it's just not a good boss. And really, if you're solo bossing, there's 2 options for you. You can QBD or you can Raxor. And unless some of the other God Wars Dungeon bosses are better, I have my suspicions about Zami. He might be better boss because the subjugation armor has still held a decent value. Solo God Wars Dungeon is really not good for money anymore. So due to the start of an epic series that's probably going to take a long time, there should be a really good graphic to represent our progress, right? Well, unfortunately, we don't have one of those, but we have this instead, and it's the best I can do. And this is going to list all of the pets, and as I get the pets, I will continually fill them in. I do apologize for there not being any pets yet. However, I'll probably wait till I get 1 pet at least before I upload the next episode of this, and I'll definitely be going for one of those God Wars Dungeon pets. However, I might try a different boss just to mix things up again and try to go for a pet. But again, as you do more and more kills, the pets become more and more common. So there are a lot of pets here, and which ones am I really not looking forward to? There are a couple pretty bad ones. First of all, Molly, the mole pet, is going to be a huge pain in the rear. And also, I think that the next pet is going to suck just because I'm not a big fan of Nex. Most of the other bosses are probably going to be alright, and I do have the Virago pet listed, even though I have my doubts whether that's ever going to happen or not, as it is a 1 in 5,000 drop rate, supposedly, which would take hundreds upon hundreds of hours of Virago to get, unless you get very, very lucky. So that's about all for me today. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to this series. I know I definitely am, but I will be doing a lot of Iron Man as well, so expect that to come. Anyway, I will see you guys next time with the next episode, so stay tuned for that, and farewell.